So, like Justin said last week, I said that we were done with this series, and then I was talking to Brittany this week, or last week, and she was like, you know, you never really got to the end of the story, so you should probably finish the story of Jesus at the cross when you're at Easter. So we're gonna finish the story.
I feel betrayed.
So, we're gonna talk about these beautiful ladies. Their names are all Mary. The New Testament has a lot of Marys. So if there's ever a trivia question about a female character in the New Testament, it's probably Mary. Just so you guys know. So, recap of the story so far. Up to this point, we've talked about Jesus being betrayed. People lied about who Jesus was. Jesus was beaten. Jesus had to be helped with his cross up the hill. And while he was on the cross, he had to take care of his mom and make sure that she was taken care of. The only thing left on most people's minds was for Jesus to die. But God had other plans, just like in a lot of our lives and a lot of people's lives when you look through the Bible. People plan something and then God does something completely different. People plan for things to go one way. The Romans planned for Jesus to die and for this to be over. But God had something else in store. And that's the beauty of the Easter story. As we see how man tried over and over again to mess up God's plan. And God said, no, I've got something that you can never expect coming. As the view of that empty tomb. So, Matthew 28, verses 1 through 8. After the Sabbath, at dawn, on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to look at the tomb. There was a violent earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, and going to the tomb, rolled back the stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white as snow. The guards were so afraid of him that they shook and became like dead men. The angel said to the woman, do not be afraid, for I know that you're looking for Jesus who was crucified. He's not here. He is risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he is risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I've told you. So the woman hurried away from the tomb, afraid, yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. So I want to look for a minute. I want to look at how the ladies responded. Because they were running, they were going to take care of Jesus' body. That was a custom. That was something they did. Kind of like if someone in your life passes away, you have a nice funeral, you have a nice service, people will send flowers, all those nice things to take care of that person. Well, in this time, what they would do is they would go to the grave and they would put nice smelling scents on it. They would put nice spices and nice perfumes to help the body smell a little bit better while it was rotting. Because a rotting body is gross. If you've ever found roadkill, or talked to Byron, he works for a funeral home.
Byron, that's a smell.
So, they see the disciples, they see the angel, and the angel tells them to run and go tell the disciples. And it says that while they're running away, they were afraid, but they were excited. Have you guys ever experienced something where you're scared, but you're excited to do it? Yeah? What kind of things are exciting but scary? Roller coasters? Thanks, adult.
Sorry.
Life is exciting and scary. You got one, Matt?
He took one.
You took it?
Following someone to jump off the bridge.
Following someone to jump off the bridge? Friends can be exciting and scary.
Flip.
A flip?
Oh, yeah, that's so 20 feet.
That one thing that we went to. Nice.
One thing.
Sometimes God is going to come into our lives and he's going to mess up our plans. The girls in the story, the Marys, had wonderful plans. They planned to take care of their friend, Jesus, who they loved and they cared about. And there's nothing wrong with what they planned to do. It was a great thing that they were trying to do. But God had something else in plan. God had something else bigger. So we're going to look at what it's like when God comes in and messes up our plans. All right? So it's okay to be afraid. I love this picture. I found it. I stole it off the internet. It's wonderful. It says, it's okay to feel afraid. Just don't let it stop you. See, the disciples, not the disciples, I guess they could have been disciples, the girls, were afraid. I would be terrified if an angel, who they described looked like lightning and caused an earthquake, wanted to talk to me. That's a scary thing. And especially in their time in the Old Testament, when an angel came, it was usually a bad thing. Angels come and like destroy stuff, or they tell you that you're going to die. So the Marys, they were filled with joy though. Not because they knew what was going to happen, but because they knew who was in charge. They went into this, running to the disciples, scared, rightfully so, but excited, but filled with joy. Because they just found out that their friend, who they had plans to take care of after he had died, was alive. Jesus had come back from the dead. They were filled with joy because they knew that God was in control of the situation, even though they didn't know what was going to happen. So Matthew 28, 9 and 10, this is right after they run away from the angel. Suddenly, Jesus met them. Greetings, he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, so grabbed his feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me. So, Jesus appears. They're running to the disciples, and Jesus just shows up. Boop! Jesus.
Pops into existence.
Pops back into where they can see him. And so as the Marys are doing what God called them to do, God, in Jesus, shows up to give them more details, to give them more of a plan, to help them know that they're doing the right thing. Jesus showed up, he gave them clarification. Because when you follow God, it's hard sometimes, because you have to be okay with not knowing everything, without knowing all the details. Because sometimes God is going to give you just enough to keep you going. But when God speaks, sometimes God is going to say something like, go. He does it all the time in the Bible. Hey, you, go.
Go.
Do this.
Go.
Stay. Stop it. Sometimes God's going to say, hey, I need you to stay here. I need you to stay put and do what I tell you to do. Or he's going to say, speak up. Hey, I know you see that kid being bullied. I need you to stick up for him. Or hey, I know you see that kid eating lunch by himself every day. Go sit with him. Go speak up. Go show love. Or go do this. Or change that. Or go out on a limb. Try something you've never tried before. Because God's got a plan that's way bigger than anything that you ever could have planned. But he's not going to give you all the answers. I have to just throw a lot of praise at my volunteers when we started Wednesday nights. Because I was like, hey guys, we're going to start Wednesday nights and it's going to look kind of like this. And then we start Wednesday nights and it looks something like this. It was a hot mess the first couple times, but the volunteers were fantastic. I love them to death, and we wouldn't be where we are today without them. Because as we were going, God was giving us ideas. God was telling me things that we should do, things that we should change, things that we should try. And sometimes he spoke to me, sometimes he gave an idea to a volunteer, and they brought it to me. But we tried. We went out on a limb. We tried something we had never done before, or we hadn't done recently, or we hadn't done together. And if we would have been like, God, we need all the answers before we started, we wouldn't be here right now. Because unfortunately, a lot of us like to know all the answers. We like to know everything that's going to happen. That's why when we go on a trip, you guys go, hey, when are we doing this? When are we doing that? Hey, when are we doing that? When's lunch? When are we getting to get there? When are we doing I just tell you to stop asking. I know, Matt, you're the worst about it. You are so bad about it sometimes. But God likes to give us just enough information to keep us moving in the right direction. God likes to give us just enough answers so that we can keep doing the thing that he wants us to do. So with the youth group, when we started on Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 8. And then we extended it later to make you guys help clean up. And we opened the doors earlier to try to get you guys to help set up. We're very sneaky with our time. But if I would have came into the very first volunteer meeting and said, hey guys, we're going to start youth group, it's going to be from 6 to 8:30, probably would have just walked out on me. Yeah, see, Nancy, Lisa, they're both agreed. They would have been gone. But the Marys, they knew they had to talk to the disciples. They knew they needed to go and speak to them and speak into their lives. But I'm guessing they didn't know what they were going to say. Other than, Jesus is the Galilee, go. That's about what I would have been able to get out. But they went, and then Jesus intervened in their lives. So I'm going to talk about this girl named Hannah. Hannah's this one right here, in the red shirt and the little blonde girl. Right there. She has a crazy story that I found out about. Alright, so Hannah was going into 6th grade. She'd been in private school, a private small Christian school, her whole life. And then going into 6th grade, her parents said, hey, you're going to go to public school now. So, yeah, public school is very different than private school. You're not allowed to talk about Jesus. Not as openly as you are in private school. So she's a new kid. She's going into middle school. And it's her first time ever being in public school. Who remembers their first day of 6th grade? How many of you guys remember that? How many of you guys were super excited for your first day of 6th grade?
Yeah.
How many of you guys were a little bit nervous about your first day of 6th grade? Yeah, very nervous. Yeah, I get that. 6th grade is a big thing. It's exciting, but it's scary. Kind of like getting on a roller coaster. And listen to this. This is a direct quote from Hannah. She said, the minute I walked into the first day of 6th grade at my new school, I knew I needed to make a difference. She walked in, saw the school, and God said, hey, you're going to make a difference here. You're going to do something big in this school soon. And so what she does is she starts praying. She's like, God, show me what I need to do. I don't know what it is that I'm supposed to do here. And she starts looking around. She sees a whole bunch of girls who are dressed very skimpily. The short shorts, the holes, not a lot of clothing covering the things. And God told her, he's like, these girls are looking for fulfillment through boyfriends instead of fulfillment through God. And so she wanted to start a group for girls. Just girls in her school where they could talk about God and help middle school girls find God. Find out that they had a Father in heaven that loved them more than any of those boys in that school ever would. And she's like, all right, God, I don't know where to start. I know you want me to start this group, but what do I do? And so then God said, go talk to, I think it was her choir teacher. Go talk to your choir teacher. See what they have to say. And so she goes up to the choir teacher, and she lays her heart out there. She says, this is what God's telling me to do. Can you be my adult sponsor? Can we use your room? I don't know all the things we need to do. And the choir teacher was excited. The choir teacher said, yes, absolutely. I love what you want to do. Let's run with this. And so then they had to figure out the next step. God didn't give them the next step. God just told her, go talk to your choir teacher. So then the choir teacher and the girl go and they talk to the administration, the principals. And the principal said, well, you got to get it approved by the school board because it's a Christian club, it's a religious thing. And there's probably not a good chance that they're going to approve this kind of club. And so they sit there and her and the choir teacher pray and they pray and they pray and they pray going up to this meeting. And the board approves it. The board says, you know what? I think that's a good idea. I think it'd be okay for a club where girls can choose to come and hear about Jesus if they want to. And so then they started the club. And a lot of kids made fun of her. A lot of kids laughed at the idea of having a little church group at school to talk about God. But she didn't let that knock her down. She said, you know what, I don't care. I don't care. God's given me this plan. God's given me this idea. God's put this on my heart. I'm going to keep going with it. And that group boomed. She said it was so exciting watching it the first year, where just her and some of her 6th grade friends were able to do this. And then eventually she was a 7th grader and the group kept meeting. And then she was an 8th grader, and the group kept meeting. And then she was going into high school. And if you know, high school is not the same as middle school, so they had to leave the building. But there were other girls that were going to keep the group going. Because God had blessed that group. And so, at the end of Hannah's letter, at the end of her story that she was telling, she left some tips. So these are Hannah's tips for us. She said, first off, always obey God's calling. If God has put something on your heart, follow it. Don't shut it out. Don't let people tell you that's a bad idea. Don't let people tell you that God's not going to use you. Obey God's calling. And then our next step, pray, pray, pray. The only way you can hear from God is if you talk to God. If you say, God, I don't want to hear it, I'm not listening, blah, 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 blah. He's not going to force himself into your life. But you got to pray. If you want to obey God's calling, if you want to know what God wants you to do, you got to pray. And she said, just look around. God told her she was going to make a difference in the school. She prayed. She said, God, show me what's next. And he said, look at these girls. They need another girl to show them how much I love them. And so look around. All of you guys go to public school, right? Right? Yeah. Are there problems in your school?
Yeah.
Could you look around and see problems in your school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should know.
Right. I don't go to all of her schools. The next thing she said was, don't be ashamed. Remember what I said about when she started the group and how people responded? What did I say happened?
She got laughed at.
She got laughed at. People made fun of her. People didn't like what she had to do. People didn't like what she was doing. But people didn't like what she was doing. The devil didn't like that she was trying to bring God into a public space. And so he tried to use people to discourage her. And she said, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed of the gospel. Jesus said it. He said, people are going to make fun of you. People aren't going to like you if you follow me. I'm not going to be a popular person. But it's not you they don't like, it's me they don't like. So she said, when people are making fun of you, when people are trying to discourage you or make you be ashamed of the gospel, don't. Don't let them put out your flame. Don't let them put out your spark. She said, always look ahead. When she was in 6th and 7th grade, she knew that she was going to move on to high school. She didn't want the group to end. So she started raising up leaders. Because believe it or not, you guys are leaders. You guys influence your school, whether you see it or not. And she said, be unstoppable. If you've got the most powerful being in the universe on your side, fighting for you, how could anyone stand against that? It's God's plan. I promise you guys right now, I'm willing to promise you, God has a plan for each and every one of you right now. I know some of you may be thinking to yourself, Pastor Derek, maybe like so-and-so, they're pretty cool, but I don't have a plan. God doesn't have a plan for me. I don't even know what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. But I promise you, God has a special plan for each and every person in this room. Each and every one of you that's here tonight. God has something planned for you. The question is whether or not you're going to open your eyes and open your ears to hear what God is telling you to do. It's time for you to take time to reach out to God. I heard this saying one time, and it's stuck with me. It said, if you ever feel far from God, it's not because He walked away. Because God always wants to be close to us, and He's always drawing close to us. So if you feel far from God, you've got something to reevaluate, not God. And so I know a lot of you guys in your school, some of you may already know that there's Christian groups going on in your school. Maybe you already know that there's a new club. Yeah. Pleasant Run Middle School people, there's the Fellowship of Christian Athletes on Tuesdays. I only know because I go there. But maybe you don't have to start it. Maybe you just need to join it. Get involved. Maybe you don't have anything at your school. Maybe God's got a plan for you, something that no one's ever thought of at your school before. So, I'm going to pray. We're going to talk about this more in small groups. All right, God, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for this night where we can come together and we can look at the Marys and how God intervened in their life. Thank you for the example that Hannah set for us by starting a group and seeing a problem in her school. I ask that you help us, God. Help us to see the problems in our school, in our communities that you've placed us in. Help us to be a light in a dark and stormy world. Help us to be someone that shows Christ in all of our actions. In your name we pray. Amen.